Hey everyone, today we're going to be tying my new little nymph, the main midge. So it's winter now and midges are out, the trout are on midges right now, and there are a couple materials I thought make cool nymph bodies. One of those is moose mane and the other one is peccary, and they each kind of bring a little different look to the fly, but when wrapped around a hook, it kind of looks pretty midgy or like a small baetis or anything that's segmented. So I wanted to come up with a fly that incorporated these materials. I also have come up with a little different way to do a soft collar that uses Squirrel and CDC. So I kind of combined those two into this fly, and we have a little midge that's got the segmented body look, a little bit of flash, and a little bit of a soft hackle, so it'll stand out. The fish is great on like a Euro rig or nymphing under an indicator or as part of a dropper on dry dropper. I've caught fish on all ways with it, and it's been a great little producer for me out here on our terra waters. Either spin one up, or if you're not a fly tyer, you can pick them up in my shop. They're available right now in all three colors. So here are all the materials you'll need for this fly. All these will tie all three variations I have, which is the natural, the two-tone, and the peccary. But, it's a pretty simple fly. The soft collar nymph, essentially. So let's get to it. In the vise, I've got a size 18 Driftstone jig hook paired with a 2.5mm slotted tungsten bead in black nickel. I'm tying in my materials with 12/aught Semperfli classic wax thread. For a body, I'm using one white moose mane hair and one dark moose mane hair. And I'm snipping off the brittle tips and getting them to the color sections I like, and then tying them to the shank of the hook. Use a little bit of thread tension here to kind of lash them down and get them to compress, so we keep our nymph body nice and thin. But tie them back into the bend of the hook and then take your thread forward. To give this fly a little bit more durability, I'm going to use a little bit of Zap-A-Gap over the thread. I'm just getting a nice little coat of super glue here. That way, if a trout's tooth kind of nicks one of these moose mane hairs through the UV resin, it'll still hold together for a few more fish. But these flies have proven to be pretty durable for me. Then I'm taking both of the hairs and holding them together and using the rotary function to wrap them forward, leaving myself about an eye's width worth of room. So I'm not taking these up to the bead. I'm taking them a little bit less forward than that and then cranking down on them. Since you want these flush, I'm helicoptering them off instead of snipping them out with scissors. And that just leaves a little bit cleaner spot behind that bead. We're going to add a flashy little hot spot here. This is a little bit of pearl tinsel and small. I'm just flattening out that moose mane until I've got about that same eye's width worth of area to work with. And then I'm going to wrap this twice forward, just to get a little bit of a flashy hot spot. And we're going to secure off that tinsel and snip it as close as possible. It's not always possible to get the cleanest snip here, so just get it close. Again, it's super important to leave this little bit of area behind the bead because we need a landing area for our soft hackle, and if you resin the whole thing and have tinsel over the whole thing, it might slip. The soft hackle might slip, so you've got a little bit of a landing spot here. To reinforce the fly, I'm going to use a little bit of Solarez bone dry UV resin and just get a good coating of it on all sides of it. And make sure you get that end part where you tied in the moose mane and get a little bit of resin where it meets the hook. That way it'll reinforce that section. That's where it's most prone to breaking. And then zap it with your UV light, get a good cure on it. Remember, don't keep your UV light on one spot for too long, kind of rotate it around and just get each section for a few seconds. Alright, for a soft hackle we're using two materials. The first is a natural squirrel, or hair from a natural squirrel zonker. I'm putting it in a material clip and just clipping off maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Just a little bit. And you're always going to get more than you need. You really only need like at most a dozen fibers. So I go in here and flick the hair really lightly, and that'll get some of the fluff out. And then I'll pull out a few more hairs until I only have the guard hairs. We're only looking for the guard hairs. Then I'm going to use a split thread dubbing loop technique. So I'm flattening out this thread and then taking a bodkin and splitting it in half. Create our dubbing loop. I'm taking a little bit of low tack wax from Loon, putting it on my finger and just brush a little bit on the inside part of the thread. That way these rabbit hairs will kind of stay in place because we're going to open the dubbing loop up and put something else in as well. So when you re-split the thread again, you could either get a different split so the thread fibers hold the hair in place, or you can use the wax to kind of keep them there. Now I'm just taking a dark dun CDC feather. I snipped it to length, and then I'm gonna cut about 5 or 6 fibers off this CDC feather. This is a CDC feather from TroutHunter. We're gonna do the same thing, re-split the thread. This is where that wax is holding those hairs in place. And then we're gonna put the CDC fibers into the loop and push them up so they're resting up against the bottom section of that hair. So you have a top half of squirrel hair and then a bottom half of CDC feathers or fibers. And then you're going to spin it up into a dubbing loop. Just spinning it up so the fibers get secured and we can start wrapping them around the hook. Dubbing loop, start making your wraps. The squirrel will go on first, start printing it back, and then the CDC will go on. And you can start printing that back too. The way this soft color works is that the squirrel fibers provide some body to the fly, and the CDC provides some movement. And then once everything's in place, you can do a 4 or 5 turn whip finish, and snip off your thread. And that's pretty much just our finished fly. The segmented body, little flashy hotspot, and a 2 material dubbing loop for a soft color. I always secure my thread wraps with a little bit of water-based head cement. But that's the fly. It's imitative, buggy, will stand out in the drift. Just a great little pattern you can rely on. I tie another version, which I'm calling natural, which just uses a single darker moose mane. And then I've got another version made out of Peccary that kind of gives it a transition look to it, so light to dark. For more of those cream color versions. Bigger midges are coming out. Anyways, here's me fishing the fly. There we go. Oh, finally found a fish. Appears to be a decent one. Running all over. I think finned is correct. Let's see. See if we can encourage him to come up right here. No, I think I got him in the mouth. It's not like a mega giant, I don't think. It's a decent one. Coax him back over here. Well, yeah, that's a solid brown right there.